Today we are going to learn about the verb tener. Tener means to have. But before we get started, there are a couple of words that you need to know. So infinitives, this is a word that you will hear a lot in Spanish class. This is the simplest form of a verb. In English, to be, to study, to have, to see, they always have the word to in front of them. We don't know who is doing the action. We don't know when the action is taking place. It's just to be. In Spanish, infinitives end in AR, ER, or IR. So if you see a word that has one of those endings, you can assume that it's an infinitive and you'll probably be right. Now there's another word, conjugation. This is just something that means change to a verb. So a conjugation is a change made to an infinitive, a verb, to show who is doing the action and oftentimes when the action is occurring. So today we're learning this verb to have, but this is just an example. To have is an infinitive. And in order to come up with the correct conjugation, have or has, then we need to know our pronouns. And we know that I have, you have, we have, they have. We don't say we has. That's just not correct grammar. And then he has, she has, it has, not it have. So if I wanted to say Lucy something, two brothers, I know that it's Lucy has two brothers, but the reason I know that is because the pronoun for Lucy is she, and I know that she goes with has. Another example of an infinitive and conjugations, to be is an infinitive, and then we have three conjugations, am, are, and is, again depending on who our pronoun is. So in order to conjugate verbs, you must know the pronouns. This is crazy important. If you don't have these memorized, you should stop right here, work on those for a bit. If you'll go to YouTube and just search Spanish pronouns or maybe Spanish pronoun songs, there are lots of videos on there explaining what they are and what the difference is. Lots of stuff. So check that out. But once you've got those memorized, you know what they mean, then it's, again, some more memorization, unfortunately. But the first thing is knowing that tener is to have. If you can conjugate verbs all day long, but you don't know what they mean, that's really not useful at all. So, once you get the conjugations right, that's communicating and communicating well. But without knowing what they mean, you can't even communicate. So start there, knowing that tener is to have. The step after that is knowing how to conjugate these. So you need to memorize. Yo goes with tango. And we know yo is I, so if I want to say I have, I'll say yo tengo. Tu goes with tienes. So tu means you, so tienes means you have. Usted, él, and ella actually all share a verb conjugation. Tiene. So usted tiene would be you have, formally. Él tiene would be he has. And ella tiene would mean she has. Nosotros goes with tenemos. We know that nosotros is we, so tenemos would translate as we have. Vosotros is the one that is only in Spain, but the conjugation is tenéis, so that would be you all have. And then the conjugation that goes with ustedes, ellos, and ellas is tienen. So ustedes tienen would translate as you all have. And then ellos and ellas both translate as they have. Now again, YouTube is your friend. I'm sure there are some songs on there that will help you out with that. Check that stuff out. Definitely have to get those memorized, whether it's through song or just rote memorization, whatever you found that works for you. So let's take a look at these examples. If I wanted to say we have two sisters, we know is nosotros. So I'll say nosotros. And then I just need to look on my chart. Next to nosotros is tenemos. So nosotros tenemos. Now in Spanish, you do not have to say the pronoun. Tenemos only goes with nosotros, so I know exactly who we're talking about. So I can say tenemos dos hermanas, or I can say nosotros tenemos dos hermanas. Either way is right. Let's look at this next one. How many cousins do they have? So for this one, it's a little different because it's a question. So how many will be cuantos, and then cousins, primos, and then to say, do they have? In English, this is a helping verb. We don't have this helping verb, do, in Spanish. So you really can just ignore that word do, pretend it's not there. How many cousins they have? So they is ellos or ellas, so we'll go with tienen. Now with a question, if I want to include my pronoun they, then I'm actually going to switch the verb and the subject here. So I would say tienen first and ellos second. Now really, again, you don't have to have the ellos in there at all. Let's look at this next sentence. He has 5 uncles and 2 aunts. So he is él. Now with tiene, there are 3 different options for pronouns. So you still don't have to say the pronoun if you know who you're talking about. That's already been established. Then you really don't need it. It's not necessary. But if you don't know who I'm talking about, maybe I'm just offering up random information, then I want to include the L in there. So he has L, and L is next to tiene. Él tiene, he has 5 tíos and dos tías. Now let's look at a question that you have already memorized. How old are you? You may remember that question, you may not. But remember, literally you're saying how many years do you have? So to say how many, that's cuantos. And then years, años, cuántos años. And remember, we're going to ignore the do. That's a helping verb that we just don't have in Spanish. Do you have? So you is 2. ¿Cuántos años tienes? And I can say tienes 2 if I want to. And then to say I am however many years old, we say I have, the number, and then the word for years. So I have, I is yo, so I can say the yo if I want to. Tengo, and then 14, 15, and then the word años. All right, one more sentence. The house has a pool. So it doesn't have to just be with family members. It doesn't just have to be with age. Pretty much any time you would say have in a sentence, you're using this word tener. So the house, I've helped you out here a little bit. La casa means the house. Now we've got a problem. The house. What would the pronoun for the house be? The house is it. So it actually goes along with he or she. So anytime the subject would be it will be tiene. So la casa tiene a pool, una piscina. So that's it. That's how you use the verb tener. Now, one last thing. We do have some tener phrases to be aware of. So these are things that don't translate very well literally. So you can use tener with number and años. Remember, if you say tengo 15 años, literally that's I have 15 years, but we would translate that as I am 15 years old. Now, you can see I changed it to tango. I wouldn't want to say to have 15 years. I want to say I have 15 years. So you would still want to conjugate tener to go with who you're talking about. Now, the word hambre, literally that's hunger. But that is how you would say that somebody is hungry. Tengo hambre. That means I am hungry. ¿Tienes hambre? Are you hungry? So, again, doesn't translate literally very well, but we would really translate that as hungry. Sed, tengo sed would mean I am thirsty. If I said tengo frío, that's like freezing or frigid. That would mean I am cold. Tengo calor. That's the opposite. I am hot. Tengo vergüenza. That means I am ashamed or I am embarrassed. So those are just some useful tener phrases.